Yes, 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 yes. Episode one. Episode one. Um, knowing that we're getting closer and closer and closer and closer to an eventual true persistence of the game. Everyone, welcome. Vickers Medium, Victoria, Tattoo, O sevens, O nines, O nines if you're lucky. O nines if you're lucky. I tell you, we're getting closer. Um, oh, message of the day by CIG. It's a mistake. I love it. I love it. I gotta use that. I gotta use that. Oh man, not an ad break in 60 seconds. Come on. Twitch, you're killing me. All right. Um, we'll get this ad break in, but going to emphasize we're um, we're getting closer. Ads, be right back. I know, I know. Ay, 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 ay. Ay, ay, ay. Okay. Oh, for some reason color is off a little bit. Let me dial that in. Try and dial that in a little bit while we take our ad break. Give me an oh 07 once we're back. Um, we're back. Yeah, episode one. We're gonna go Kemi Crafting, episode one, and I think I want to follow it up with feedback on episode one, probably the day after or two of this video, so that we can get um, appropriate feedback, debate, and affirmation of this is is this spot on or I think otherwise. Let's debate it. The follow up show, but yeah, we're gonna go we're gonna go deep into the game theory of once we're entrenched in server meshing. Once that is a thing, once we have that locked in, and today's topic is basically um, what ships, in theory, should we see in 2024 and soon after as a priority once we get the server meshing tech in and once we're in true persistence? And you kind of think of it, um, we're kind of looking at um, once CIG pretty much has it, have it all dialed in. NPCs, we're looking at NPCs, we're looking at the economy system. We're looking at HABs. Those are core elements. There's quite a bit. But um, when you start to have that conversation, and you know that that's that's a that's time. That takes time. That definitely takes time. And so knowing that, you kind of want to set it up. I guess in development, you want to kind of set the groundwork for for everything that's going to support those parts or those elements that will make up the foundation of Star Citizen. Admiral Kusanagi. So with that said, I want to frame it in with what are the ships, what are the initial ships that we need uh, to kind of support everything that is the concept of Star Citizen going forward, as we look and branch out towards more systems and things of that nature. um, what should those ships look like? In other words, to enhance more of what we're going to have, not what we have now, but what we're going to have. So I want to start highlighting those ships that I believe will become uh, a part of that debate, a part of uh, that narrative that will echo how do we do things in game? How do we enhance what we will get? And I think it's to solidify where we are in game as well. So when people see Star Citizen, they see the ships that are being utilized and say, okay, this makes more sense. This is more of a direction for Star Citizen, and I'm ready to join. Um, Also, the ships that we're gonna look as our dailies, the type of ships that we kind of need and will need to use, not just want, but need to use to enhance and to solidify the foundation and the economy as well. So let's start with the one ship, Chimpasta oh 07 Admiral Kusanagi. Um, the ship I want to start with, I guess, would be the Arastra. Um, Point her out. Who let him in? So yeah, we're starting with the Arastra. As CIG mentioned, um, the mining veins will become a thing. It will be a thing in which it scales. Mining veins will scale in volume, its size, um, and we'll need larger ships in order to help extract ore materials that will feed into the economy that will become Star Citizen. The quantum system, that those are the things we're looking at post server meshing, right? So what you want is to have those ships on hand, ready to go, knowing that this prospect is a RSI styled ship manufacturer. They did mention this kind of aligns with bringing this on in 2024, and this is gaming Kemi craft theory. This is not, take it with a grain of salt. This is just debate and conversation on this makes sense to make it a priority for 2024, knowing what's going to be in the near future for Star Citizen. The replication layer, the server meshing, the true persistence, and then eventually Tony Z's quanta economy system. Quantum, the economy, the quanta, the NPCs. And so I want to start with the Arastra because when you look at what it can do on a larger scale when you look at it from the prospector, knowing what it can pull, what the mole can pull, and now we're seeing scale. We're actually seeing scaling in game. We recently did some missions with mining, and we realized, wow, some of these rocks, if you're talking 80K and up and higher, which they're out there, even a single mole with all of its enhancements cannot break a sweat on some of these rocks. It's coming down to, even to the extent where we had a fully crewed mole and a prospector who was also doing double duty as scanning. And so it goes to say that you may need multiple moles or this ship, the Arastra, which is a higher scaled ship. Um, so this is I think as a I think this is a necessary ship going forward in the near future for 2024. Put it on the main schedule for things to be done, to be developed, because it's essential. It's crucial now because we're talking about once they're ready to go with the economy system, you're going to need larger scales of not merchandise, but materials to quantify the needs to satisfy the needs for supply and demand, and they're going to fit into that game mechanic very well. Until it, I think it will hold things down until we can get there, Ryan. I don't think that's possible right now because of the mandate and what's in line for the immediate schedule with John Crew. They have a lot of things on the table, but I think because of what the Arastra can do, and it's right there in the sweet spot of scale, uh, and it also paves the way for the Orion. Um, that way, you can kind of use this as a basis for how will the economy start to work once we get the underground facilities online. This ship will be a great provider to subsequently deliver on these resources to the underground facilities. We'll see a higher volume. We'll be able to see potentially multiple Arostras key in on a rock and start um, breaking down fragments of those demanded resources, whether it be quantanium, uh, different types of metal or aluminum, you name it. Whatever is needed to basically recreate a ship. And I think right off the bat, um, as we kind of see on the road, on the not just the roadmap but the star map itself, we kind of see that there are 5 proposed systems because we see the jump points, right? We know that Pyro is it's right in our targets, right? That's a priority system, right? Um, so I go back to Stanton. When you go back to Stanton here, the system of Stanton. Um, you're seeing Magnus. You're seeing Pyro, which is coming on board. Um, and there's also Terra. And then if you go into, I believe, Nyx, through Nyx, Nyx, you have to go through Pyro. And once you're in the Pyro system, there should be the jump point for Nyx, I believe. There's the Nyx system. I believe that's another system that's on the list as well because they have all the basics. Well, they kind of know what they want to do with Nyx, but Nyx is another system, a back end system, because we did get a taste of Delamar. That was the asteroid sized planet, I think, according to lore. Um, so when you talk about the Arastra, it's the next scale up that can bring ore and those metal type, rock type, energy type uh, resources to these systems. And the thing is, it's capable and able to handle itself defensively. But yeah, once we get these numbers up in game, you for operating costs and security, you want to hire personnel that will help you. Whether or not we have NPCs yet, that's another thing that's on the list of things to do. But I think initially, I think the Arastra with some other ships surrounding it for security could potentially do the job, get things done. Um, we need the Arastra. because it's capable. It basically sets it up where you're moving things on another scale. You're acquiring ore and resources that's needed by planetary bodies or the governing planetary bodies. So, yeah, it would make sense that their roster should be on the priority list for 2024 because of what it's capable to do on a much larger scale, as well as have the defensive measures to help the missions to be successful, getting the ore and the resources to plants or industry outposts, points of interest, and eventually onto the underground facilities. So that ramps it up to what's the next ship, and what ties into that. The next ship that ties into that would be all things cargo. All things cargo. We have a number of cargo ships. We do have the Misk Hull C. We have the Caterpillar. We have a Freelancer. I would say the next ships that we would want to see, according to getting prepared for the quantum system. Let's say we're on the cusp of getting the server meshing tech, and I'm looking post server meshing tech. Two of the other ships, we already see its prototype that's already in game, which is the Misk Hull C, right? We already have that. John Crew and the vehicle team have already figured out. They've pretty much figured out the mechanics for the Misk Hull C, right? It's only natural now that the very next ship for that would be the whole D and E series. It makes sense. Because of the fact of the matter is, what did I do? I hit the wrong keyboard. Those two ships basically will scale up cargo running to ultimate. And they just recently mentioned, or there's some scuttlebutt out there, or recent mention that they want to treat the whole series a little different. And I kind of see it that way too. When you're talking about the C, D, and E having a full complement of supplies, I think it should be on the priority list, because then you're obviously moving on a larger scale with inventory, resources to said corporation or plant that will need those resources. And knowing that you already have the mechanics down for the C, from the C, I don't want to say I don't want to misstep and say it's easy for them to just scale it up and then move it over and call it a D and E. There's probably more to it than just that, because if that was the case, we would probably see, or we would have seen the C, D, and E. There could be some issues in regards to tech debt, resource management. That's a certain amount of resources that should be, or would needed to be supplied over to the D and E, due to not just its size, but its full volume and its full scale transformation. Once you have all those pieces of inventories, whatever it's ore or its materials, whatever that will fit on that cargo grid for the D and E, you're talking about a substantial amount of data and leveling up of materials on that ship. Now, what you probably want to, what CIG may do is kind of turn some of that into data so that it doesn't carry a lot of tech debt. But that's my assumption, that it's in one state without cargo, but it's a different thing when you talk about give it full cargo capacity, and then all of the potential myriads of different types of material that will hold it, right? So it could be some quantanium, some percentages of quantanium, some percentages of tungsten, some percentages of gold, and there you have it. A lot of data is being calculated with that ship, but as a priority, according to once they get the server meshing tech in, and we're beginning to see a scale up of logistics, meaning those five potential star systems come online. I'm calling it Magnus, Nyx, Terra, Pyro. What is Magnus, Terra, Pyro, Nyx? Um, they'll. I think we'll have five systems. We're looking at potentially five systems according to the star map of what was being shown, right? And we want to get ready, and that series, the whole MISC series, will get us ready because it will have the appropriate scale. I don't know what it would take for CIG to get us there, but I would say if server meshing is the key to it, I would say, and knowing that we're getting closer to getting the server meshing tech into the system, I would say if they can prioritize the finishing of the Miss Cole series, I would say it would be a good time to start and now. But at the same time, I understand that they are trying to get certain ships out as they dictated or mandated from CitizenCon and earlier, and they want to hold up to that statement that they were looking to get those particular ships out. But again, this is Kemi crafting it. This is talking about, for 2024, how would it really set ships up to be very successful with the new implementations that are coming very soon with Star Citizen. So yeah, Terra, Pyro, Magnus, Terra, Stanton, Magnus, Pyro, and Nyx. Those are the five systems that would serve well for an economic system. And so you need the logistics. You need to be able to carry those larger volume materials or supplies that are in demand by those systems and those subsidiaries that exist on those systems, right? So far we've spoken on. Well, and also John Crew also mentioned that they're looking to work on the Gattac Raylan, so that's another ship. I think it holds 320 of cargo units. So when you talk about the MISC Hull series, and you look at all these other smaller cargo ships, and you think, how could those trade routes interrelate with each other? What else does the Pyro attachment Pyro attaches to? It attaches to Nyx, and then Nyx. So from Pyro, you have Nyx. You have some other systems in there too. Kano, the system Kano, but that's probably later on. But here's the thing. That supports another theory of mine too. But let me finish the aspect of why the MISC Hull series and all these other cargo ships. I think there's a sort of symbiotic connection. Once you have these ships in these types of cargo ships and these and their roster in the mix, then you're talking about larger scale of moving materials. And the way that I see it, in my opinion, is your freelancers from the Aurora to the freelancers to a whole plethora of cargo ships. They will basically have submissions. I call it submissions, that will say, I need said material and I need you to take them to the underground facility, right? And then it starts to stack up. It starts to um, get its demands fulfilled. And once that demand or that fulfillment is attained, then you go to the medium sec or the medium sized cargo ships, and you set a number of them mission givers to say, come get said deliveries, like maybe a Gattac, Raylan, these larger scaled um, cargo ships, and then they will take all those um, requisition supplies from the underground facilities, and they'll bring them up to an adjacent space station. And once they have a full uh, accompaniment of materials, once they've fulfilled those materials demands, or based upon having to move them to the station, that's when the missed call series are called in to start moving the larger volume of materials from the station to the said place that needs those materials. So it's sort of a symbiotic loop or a connective mission giver that is it's multi-tiered, meaning any ship, any and all ships, I need said material that comes from the in other words, let's start from ground zero. The mining ships, they will be moving material to the underground facilities, but knowing that you have their rosters out there, higher volumes will be fulfilled, so that request will be fulfilled much quicker. And once it's supplied towards those demands, once the supplies have been met, then the mission givers will call out to um, delivery areas, delivery missions to all cargo ships, all to bring the material elsewhere. Um, well, let me backtrack. The mining stuff goes to the space stations, right? And then the cargo ships from the space stations, they'll probably distribute. They'll help with the distribution, and the larger ships, like the Mist Hull series, they will have dedicated areas that will extract those materials. Once they have it in large scale, then they will take it to the place where it was requested, like maybe a ship manufacturer. We know that Magnus, it's on the star map. Magnus is on the star map. We know that Drake Industries are there. If I go back to Pyro Stanton, headed back to Stanton, and you will see Magnus right here. And if I go to Magnus, I would think, let's see, is it on Borea? I'm not sure which planet. Okay, the former home to the United Earth Empire shipbuilding facilities until they moved to Killian, Borea suffered an economic depression for decades. Things have recently begun to improve with ship manufacturer Drake Interplanetary's decision to be headquartered on the planet. So that's where Drake is. So it says now we have a player. And to me, my theory of this is, I've been hearing a lot of, I guess that's what sparked this show right now, because I've been hearing for some reason in the communities, Drake this, Drake that, pirate scum. I will never believe them. They adheres to the pirates' demands. So it made me think, wow, wait a minute. We see this on the star map. We see Pyro as the lone wolf, meaning how can they ever get support when you get the higher volumes of people in game, you wonder what the narrative is, what will happen with Knicks. Knicks may be uh, uh, not taken care of, in other words. They may be just left alone because you hear more and more of how piracy is shunned and people having bad experiences there. But still, Knicks needs to be able to thrive. I mean, not Knicks, but Pyro needs to survive. Pyro needs to exist. And now, knowing and looking at Magnus and looking at some of the lore about it, um, you hear the narrative of Drake, and now here pops up Magnus on the star maps. And I said to myself, it kind of resonated. It was first whispering to me. Now it's shouting to me that, wait a minute, Pyro is not going to be the lone wolf out there. Pyro will probably have support by Magnus, via Drake Interplanetary. So you may see supplies that come from Magnus over to Pyro. You know, I'm just saying, because at the end of the day, they will need to sell their goods, whether you like it or not. And I think that's a secret supporter of Pyro. And so we may see down the line the narrative of Pyro slightly changing, that there will be some sort of law system, but not UEE to some extent, the laws in the sight of the governing pirate faction. Whether it be fair or not, I think that's where discipline will be instilled to bring order. But back to ships. So I see this as, MISC cargo ships going to Borea, and also some of the other planets outside of from Borea. This is not just one planet there. You have Magnus. What other systems you have? What other planets you have here? I want to cover Magnus 3. So yeah, I do see these cargo ships making runs. The multicolored gas giant situated on the outskirts of the system. Then we have Magnus 1, a small rocky planet with no atmosphere. Some astrologists speculate that Magnus 1 was formerly a hot Jupiter that migrated to this orbit before having its atmosphere stripped away by the star. Underground facilities again. Potential's there. And it could be pirate controlled, who knows? But knowing that this is a gas giant, that means there's fuel. So it presents itself as a pretty nice outpost, a potential outpost for pirate activity. And Borea being still associated with piracy. But at the same time, using the guise of, hey, we're just here for everyone, and we provide our ships without prejudice in order to bring those supplies there. And I think through fencing of said finances from Pyro to Magnus, you basically have the potential to money launder illicit goods from Pyro to Magnus, and then back into Pyro, legitimate goods filtered through Magnus. So be advised, you may be getting mission givers that pay out very well coming from the Magnus system. So, and especially if Tony Z's quantum system may prove to say, hey, the economy is a little slacking right now, or demands are very low, supplies are up, no one's really demanding anything, but yet Magnus is calling top dollar for these said goods. You're not gonna turn that away. which feeds back into the machine of pyro. So think about it. So you're saying I should smuggle, import sea nuts into magnets from pyro? If it means that you will profit, imposter, oh yes. If it means you will make a profit, yes. So that's just the theory, but the potential's there for sure. Yes. But don't get pirated by a pirate. Don't let them set you up. Don't let them set you up. But yeah, that ship, the Arastra, can provide ore, materials, metals that's needed for ships to be rebuilt, components, but on a larger scale, which we need. But then you look at the aspects of the underground facilities, what they mean to cargo ships that can land on ground. Uh, the higher Miss Cole series could not land on ground with said materials and then take off. They would have to do all the business from the space station. So there's going to be some sort of symbiotic relationship. We need to see this for 2024 as a priority. We need to see the comings and goings of all cargo ships from underground facilities that will then take those said materials to the space stations or the cargo areas, so that the larger Miss Cole series can actually pull those materials onto those larger ships and then take them where they need to, maybe to another station or a near station. There may be, due to a lack of stations, possibly in Magnus. I don't know. We'll probably have to see space stations adjacent to or close by, so that the larger Miss Hull series can drop them off, and then from there, the smaller ships can come again and pick up the amounts or whatever will fill their cargo holds up, and they'll take them to the exact place of the request, such as a industrial plant, a ship manufacturing facility, an underground facility where it's needed, where it's called for. So you're seeing a coming and going, and I think it also it will enlist all ships on all phases. You're delivering, one is receiving, one dropping off, one picking up, twofold, two separate missions altogether. It's a relay basically, but then you relay it all to the larger scale ships that will probably have to make those longer runs to those space stations, specifically the Hull C, D, and E. And we definitely need to see those, because then it will really set in motion what the quantum system should really be like. Now, when we talk about the logistics and we're talking about the movings about here and there, and we're talking about operation costs, we're talking about burn rate. And when I say burn rate, we know that there's gas giants and there's hydro scooping and things of that nature. Then you're also calling for security ships, which some of them, most of them do not have that capability of being fuel efficient. So what comes into play when you're talking about logistics? I got to add in 60 seconds. But we're talking about ramping up and scaling up the size of the universe to 5 systems potentially, because we see them on the star map. We're about half a minute away from about a half a minute away from a ad break. And then I want to bring up also the next ship that will be needed, that we could probably see as in theory crafting. What would be that next ship that would be a priority? Oh, we're gonna get there. We're getting there. Okay, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're gonna get to an ad. Give me an '07 when we get back from the break. Give me 65 out. All right, I think we're back. '07. I would totally leave my PC running with the ads in the background. Or a little side advertisement. But we're back. '07. Yeah. So we were leading up to the next ship for 2024, and again, this is taken with a grain of salt. This is not undermining what SIG is doing. They have obviously they have a plan that they're going to go about, and they're going to stick to it. But we're just speaking on the ships that, in our, in theory, in Kemi crafting of what should be the ships we need to see in 2024 with the advent of server meshing, and these type of ships will help to support and well, not just support but enhance the imminent gameplay that's about to happen, especially when you frame it against the oncoming of the quantum economic and quanta NPC system that will also influence how the game is played, how it will make it more dynamic. And so, as I said, with the cargo system, the cargo ships, and volumes, odd now '07. As we stated with cargo, volume is happening. Volume is something we need to look at, because it will immediately support the economy system, the quantum system, and once we are fully past server meshing, the conversation, no patch today. They're looking into possibly tomorrow, but they're going to work with an event. CIG mentioned they're taking in more data, but there will be a 3.23 patch. So with cargo and the need for it to scale up in order to support the quantum system, the economic system, CIG will need larger ships that will kind of grab chunks of resources slash data and grab it and move it and get it to said position or point of interest that requested those materials on a faster scale, so they can see how dynamic the system is. We already have the smaller cargo ships. We know what that is, but we need an uptick on scale. So, as I stated, the whole Mist series needs to be completed in order for the larger scale of materials to be moved from one point to the other. Basically, the industrial plants and ship manufacturer who said, "Hey, I'm building ships. I have a number of there's a number of ships that were destroyed through PvP or whatever pirate they were pirated. They went through soft death. We need those ships. We need the materials to make those ships. So I need said materials, and we need them quick because we have so many people that have lost ships." And so the Misk series will supply that demand, that high demand on volume, because they are the largest, some of the largest, if not the largest ship in the game. When you go from C is good, but D and E is essentially the two or the last two that we need in order to really say, okay, we can move material on a larger scale, but the number of people who have these ships, because you're gonna consider that there's gonna be some that will be lost through piracy, whether it be at the hands of actual players, which we see, which will be imminent because of pirate orgs, as well as eventually a quanta system, meaning NPCs will be able to track you down and hunt you down for said materials, because then they will have a stake in the game as pirates as well. Whether it's Xeno threat, those types, fire rats, the different gang factions from Pyro, they will be looking to hunt you down to supply materials to their home fronts, which is Pyro. So yeah, we need larger scales for that reason, and that reason for moving materials to get them where they need to be. So with that said, it says that now we've expanded the system, we've expanded Star Citizen, we've expanded the solar systems up to a factor of 5, as you see in the star map, the actual star map when you're flying around. We have 5 systems. So what does that mean? In order to fulfill any missions, or in order to infiltrate or mitigate missions, meaning, through piracy, stopping those missions, you're doing what? You're burning fuel. There's a burn rate in all things that you do, whether they're missions or whether you're just going out for to be opportunistic as a pirate or freelancer. You need that fuel. And so introducing the Vulcan, we need the Vulcan. That is the next ship we sorely need in 2024. Aegis is the designer of the ship. Aegis is the manufacturer of this ship. The core essential of this ship is refuel. We already have the Starfarer, right? It makes sense. We have the Starfarer. But Starfarer is just like all these other large scale ships. It could be cumbersome. It could be a target. A target will be painted on his back because there's going to be a narrative for pirate orgs. And I'm not saying it's going to be everyone, but this is a wonderful and great community. But is it perfect? No. But also in the realms of gameplay, you're going to have gamers. Gamers are going to game. And when you look at the narrative of, okay, don't you dare call me a troll, right? Don't you dare call me a troll. I'm not a troll. With that said, you're going to have players outside of that fence of actually being trolls. They're going to, the impression will be by other players is that person is being a troll because they're targeting the reclaimer. I mean the Starfarer, they're in the Starfarer Gemini, they're targeting them, and just destroying those ships. But to be fair, it's pirates being pirates. They are creating chaos where there's order. That's an extreme pirate, all the way down to. 1 second. Be right back, chat. Be right back. Checking on something. Be right back. All right. All right. I am back. So yeah, um, pirate will be a pirate. With that said, some are extreme pirates. They want chaos. They want anarchy. On the lowest tier of the reasonable pirate, the opportunistic pirate, you have Han Solo. He's ready to do a deal. He won't turn away from United Earth credits. In other words, there's layers of gray. But in the context of being a pirate, you cannot say they're being trolls, because they're doing something to upset the apple cart in order to take an advantage of what's going on. So in that context of gameplay, some of us would say CIG, this person's trolling, spank them, take their privileges away, and CIG is like, well, in the context of gameplay, they are being a pirate. So with that said, this is why we need the Vulcan, because the Vulcan is at a lower scale. And what does that mean? It can get in and out of situations much better than a Starfarer. Probably not so much as a Gemini. Gemini can take care of itself, but in a pinch, you need to, deal with a ship according to its scale. Some of these ships may not be. When we're moving cargo, you're gonna have freelancers. You're gonna have the Raylans. You're gonna have these. You're gonna have the Caterpillars. You're gonna have these other ships that say, "Hey, how quickly can you get here, Johnny on the spot?" And at the same time, you need a whole cast of characters when you're talking about something essential as fuel, and when you're adding these systems such as Magnus, Terra, Pyro, Nyx, and of course we have Stanton. That you have 5 systems. You need that many more fuel suppliers, and they should not all be Starfarers or Starfarer Geminis, because it kind of flattens the full dimensions of the whole narrative of there's various manufacturers that provide similar services. Aegis is one of them. When you look at Aegis and Misk, Starfarer is Misk. So yeah, more refuel ships, more fueling ships, the better. Odddown is saying, do you think fuel refining that the Starfarer can do should come with the Vulcan? Wow, that's a good question. Really good question. Because they said the Starfarer can refine ore, like quantanium and things of that nature. Because we are going to have other ships that do refining, I would say no now, and here's why I say no to the Vulcan and the Vulcan only, because the Vulcan, as you can see over here to the right on its port side, right, It also has drones, and one here. They have drones that will help with repair, rearming, which is when you're seeing the picture of the Eclipse here. You can rearm with torpedoes. You can rearm this with ballistics, torpedoes, and also do repairs. This ship can do three different functions: repair, rearm, and refuel. So when you say, so when you mention refining, you kind of take the potency from not just the Starfarer, but you take that legitimate potency from the Expanse as well as the Arastra, which will do refining as well. Should we introduce another refining ship from another manufacturer? Why not? But as a function, as it being, the Vulcan being a jack of all trades, master of none, I think to add another functionality, I think the community would be up in arms with it, because you have three distinct functions by the Vulcan itself, and we don't have neither yet, because I think they're figuring out what the rearming will be like. So yeah, I would say right now the concept for the Aegis Vulcan is perfect right now for the moment. I would say it opens the door for other ships that will provide those services that you're talking about. But yeah, we need this ship for 2024, because you don't leave it up to just the Starfarer and the Starfarer Gemini to just supply you with fuel, especially when it comes to like ships like the Eclipse or these fighter ships that do not perform fuel scooping well as quantum fuel. They need a refueler on all levels. I would even beg to say that we need another a fueling ship from another manufacturer, because there's going to be systems that do not have facilities that will allow us to refuel. And knowing that Pyro is going to be a large system, the more the better. Now says, I'm curious if there is more of a demand for ships with partial functionality, or take existing ships with missing capabilities brought up to a spec with those missing capabilities. In other words, finding a niche for all these ships. So like they said, they don't want one ship to be overpowered, where then everyone will gravitate to that ship. Make sure that each ship has its pros and cons. And I think it can also be shared amongst other manufacturers as well now, to show that even though it's performing a similar function, but it's done a different way, or it's shown in a different way based upon the ship manufacturer. There should be variations in its efficiencies and or the capacity to distribute said resources. So yeah, it would be great to see another fuel ship between the size of the Vulcan and the Starfarer, right? Something in between, something where you have variations of, larger fuel tanks, being able to refine on the fly and distribute as well. So, different manufacturers, different functionalities to serve that same purpose. But we definitely need another player in the refuel game as we expand. Because once they know that server meshing is viable, once we see the 5 systems, the narrative amongst the backers and the community will be, we need systems. So you're going to hear that banter. You're going to hear that narrative echo louder and louder as we get more systems in. And the last thing we will want or need is a lack of ships being able to provide that service. So it's like, what's the point in having these systems when we can't get there? Isn't drones not available part of the reason why the Apollo ships have not been released yet? That's another one. That's another one that's on the list. But they did say that the Apollo is being worked on, and that bodes well knowing that it is an RSI ship, the Apollo is being worked on, and it will feed into the mechanic of the drone, because there's like a drone like it's like a gurney, but it's a drone that can actually extract a person out of harm's way and then bring them back to the ship. But yes, because you're correct, Odd, now, because they were mentioning um, with the Vulture, one of the reasons of the Vulture coming out, um, the narrative was, well, we're not going to make a ship that you just get in, you fly around, and you don't do nothing but fly around and show it off. We want to we want you to be able to interact and do the things that the concept said you will be able to do with that ship, and that was the result of the salvage ship, the Vulcan. But yeah, it's essential for the Vulcan to have the drones, because we do not know whether or not the fuel will be provided via the drone itself by attaching itself to the ship and distributing the fuel as well. We don't know. We don't know if that could scale up the tanks or whatever, or it could have a more denser capacity, fuel tank capacity. We don't know. But yeah, they want that function to be in game. Um, and Admiral was saying, now we're all in agreement here. It is going to be cool, and it's going to be needed. But hopefully we get it in 2014 as a suggestion. This may rework. They may rework the concept, and the ship will probably grow in size. Says Dirt. 2024. This is the theory crafting of it. It should be a priority because of what's coming and what should be inbound. But no, take that with a grain of salt. CIG, this does not align with what CIG is doing. I don't want to misconstrue what they're doing. This is all just conversation, and what I would believe is what should be a priority number of ships for 2024, with knowing what's coming, what's inbound. And Admiral was saying Vulcan is cool and all, but it doesn't seem to hold enough. I want something that has bigger tanks, say equal to 2 of the 6 Starfarer tanks. Yeah, scaling up, Admiral. And again, there is a place, Admiral, for, if they get this out, make it a priority. It will fit kind of in that narrative of what was done with the kind of like what they're doing, or what they've done with the mining ships, right? Because they saw the Prospector, they had the Mole, they saw the Orion, and they said, wait a minute, there's another spot in the gap, right? And then you can look at also with the salvage ships. You have the Reclaimer, and then you have the Vulture. Of course, you can place 2 more ships, sort of like adding a Mold and a roster version of the salvage in between there, right? So with that said, I think they need a prototype, and then from there, they need to keep going. They have room to scale up, and one could say, why not have one on a large scale with that of the Starfarer or the Starfarer Gemini by another manufacturer? Maybe Consolidated, because Consolidated does the Pioneer. You need a larger ship to compete. It also could be RSI as well, because again, what narrative does it fit? It fits into the narrative that RSI was the first and foremost and the only go-to ship manufacturer. So it's not a retcon. It's actually reaffirming the lore of RSI being the first to do space travel on the civilian side of it. And so it bodes well that you have a rival to the Starfarer and the Starfarer Gemini. You have rivals. You have other ship manufacturer rivals on that larger scale. Who's to say that Drake wouldn't do it? To say, hey, you need it, I got it. And you have a large Drake ship that's, stacked to the teeth with weapons, just to say, we're guaranteeing that we're going to get you this fuel and come back alive. Now says, I think they learned some big lessons with the reclaimer. Sometimes their concepts need to be reined in and not not dreamed as big. Dreaming is good, but they also have to be realistic. There has to be a balance between the two. Yeah, I was stating the similar things about that now that it's great to have a concept, but now knowing what you're capable of, and now that you've matured in your process, CIG, it's okay. There's a two prong approach to it too. Now, if it's a smaller ship, then I think knowing that you can produce those quicker, I would say be a little more lenient about putting out the concepts. I would say the smaller ships, it's okay to do concept and then follow up. With the larger ships, I would say be cautious on putting out the concept first and then trying to fill that concept with the gameplay mechanics and what the tech debt is telling you you can and cannot do. I would say go with a large ship concept, keep it in house, vet it, do your research, do your mechanics, put it in game, test it, and knowing that you're sure that it's viable. I would say go as far as gray or white box with it, and then provide the concept of it. And then I think you're further along in the process that those larger ships come sooner than later. I think that's a great prospect or a great way to concept these ships going forward. When you talk about from small to large and having a different philosophy of how you deliver upon those ships. Admiral says, we expect that the Vulcan would be able to fully fill 8 to 10 so small tanks, 2 to 3 medium tanks, and half a large tank. Filling a tank will require multiple trips with drones, however. That's according to the RSIQA from Admiral Kusanagi, '07 Admiral. Yeah. So again, it doesn't have to necessarily mean that you have to have everything full. You just provide maybe a quarter of a tank just to get you to that jump point, right? And then does that not make that efficient? Does that not make it a ship that there's viability, there's value in that, where you're on a smaller scale and you can say you can hit your points and you can charge at a higher rate on of saying this is, hopefully there's data that says, okay, the nearest jump point is this is how much fuel it takes to get there. And it would be great that it could calculate that, but just giving enough fuel to say, I'll give you enough just to get to your jump point so you can get out of danger or out of a hostile territory or situation. And knowing that this does also some level of repair for other ships, get the ship back on its feet, as well as give it fuel to, kick into another jump point that's a safe place. That's huge. Again, this is another ship that we should see in 2024 regarding to what's coming down the pipeline with server meshing and the expanding logistics. It means we need fuel for burn rate. Whether you're a pirate or not, it doesn't matter. This ship will fulfill purposes to both factions or both focuses of the game of Star Citizen, whether you're a UEE citizen or a pirate or somewhere in the middle. The Vulcan can provide you your needs regardless of what your narrative is in the game. So it is a viable ship. So yeah, that fulfills it. I mean, I think that holds it down. That helps. It also is an assistance to the Starfarer, because then the Starfarer can kind of focus. I think this is why the Vulcan is so important, because it allows the Starfarer to stay on the scale that it was created for. In other words, as we see the larger ships, that also includes the Miss Hull series, CD&E, as I talked about earlier. You're going to have those kind of ships really burning a lot. And as we get into 5 systems and beyond, they're gonna burn a lot of fuel jumping, and those engines, man, the scale of those engines will burn a lot. So you need the starfarers to kind of look after those type of ships, those larger ships, on all scales. And here's the other aspect. At some point, John Cruz said after the Polaris is in, and the Perseus and the Polaris is coming. Hello, he said that at CitizenCon, and there's going to be larger ships. It's going to be the norm. Because they want to release, as soon as there's Squadron 42, they want to release the Idris and its variants. So the Starfarer is going to be in much demand to fulfill the needs of these higher scaled and these capital sized ships. So there's a vacuum for your freelancers. There's a vacuum for your fighter ships. Who's going to hold the line on that? That's your Vulcan. That's why it's needed. I think it's on another tier, but it does also mean that it's able to provide fuel services for all these other ships, Caterpillars, you name it, Eclipses, you name it, Andromedas, even your Carracks. There's a scale. A reclaimer is going to look at it like this. That's with anybody. They're going to be, okay, I have a Kraken and an Idris needing fuel services. But yet there's an Eclipse, there's a Freelancer, there's an Aurora also asking for or providing, wanting provision of my services. And you're going to say, I'm going to the larger ships. Sorry, you need to call a Vulcan. Or they may look at you, your mission giver, or you might have contact with them. I don't know. Maybe they'll see what kind of ship it is for efficiency purposes that are calling. What are you in? Or they might get pissed off and realize, okay, they weren't able to see who you were. They come there and they see it's an Aurora. They're like, I don't think so. I'm just saying. You gotta have. I'm saying players are gonna play. Players are going to play. Another reason why we would love to see this as a priority for 2024 because of it fulfills a scale need of ships. So now is saying, do some missions only appear if you are in a specific ship? They could do that as well, Odd now. They could do that as well, right? They could do that. Architect TV 07, thanks for stopping in. I hope Planet Moonside refineries come in soon to make refueling stations missions viable. You will refuel my Aurora. For 5 mil, yes. Now I'd like to get NPC rescue missions to do, to be able to be in for a Pisces rescue or a Cutlass Red. Yeah, they're going to be all sorts of mission givers. You may have NPCs set up that they want to, have them in the game to, if you're in areas, you may get called by them. But yeah, those mission givers should scale up. But also, this is one side of it is NPCs and mission givers. Then there's another side of it of actual players, right? Org members that will call you for your services as well. You may have, and then also in the context of, this post server meshing and scaling up, it may get to a point. There's another part of a slice of the pie that's being taken away. Let's say that the particular owners of the Starfarer are only loyal or only connected to an org. They only work with a large org. So they're busy. Not to say that they're not opportunistic, but they may be so caught up and so busy in their orgs, that slice of pie is taken away. That factor is removed out of the narrative. So now you're talking about, do you rely on NPCs? Until we get Quanta, which is NPCs, into the system, and them having to be able to operate those ships, we don't know. That's further down the line potentially. But we're looking at actual players with these number of ships. So, you need more of the refuel ships to kind of fill in those blank spaces as they are taken out as a slice of pie. People loyal or just maybe only focused on their large orgs, people who may have a certain clientele, a trustworthy clientele based on their reputation, that they know them outside and or maybe in spectrum. So you need those mission givers. You need more players with the capability. You need these. You need this shit, and see where it leads. But if it's only the Starfarer, then it does not bode well for the game mechanic of refueling. It does not bode well. And if this is the case, like Admiral stated, that this ship has um, smaller fuel tanks. Hopefully, this ship was built for fuel efficiencies that it can take, that it can move about uh, longer distances because the engines are very fuel efficient. Hopefully, that will help rebalance some things when you talk about, yeah, the Starfarer has a lot more fuel, but the Aegis Vulcan is much more fuel efficient as it for its burn rate. Oh, let me change my didn't change my game title, my stream title. Let me see if it'll change. Hopefully it will. But yeah, Vulcan is a must see. Can't wait. Can the that's that is almost a joke. Now that is almost a joke. Not laughing at you or anything, but yeah, it's so much of a profound question that it's so logical, right? Can the Starfarer refuel itself? I think it does have fuel scooping abilities for hydrogen, but for Quantanium, no, it does not. You're talking about the Vulcan. It has two tanks. Hopefully, these are tanks right here as well, Admiral. Right here. These are extra tanks here for it. The ultimate exploration ship, all the fuels. It can't go out and pick up tanks of fuel and use them as reserves. Yeah, so that's interesting. They have like 2 or 3 tanks. I mean, what is it? 6 tanks, I believe. And you can kind of, let's say you can kind of do 1 tank for hydrogen and all the rest will be Quantanium. So that way, strategically speaking, you're providing, let's say for fighter ships, you'll have to provide Quantanium as well as hydrogen. So you can disperse all your hydrogen and go to a gas giant and do fuel scooping to fill the hydrogen tank, but then you have a lot of the reserve left of the Quantanium to distribute, which I think will be the higher valued fuel that you supply and people of need to be able to jump out the systems. I think that's the core thing or the core need for all ships. Even like there's civilian ships. There's some civilian ships that can do or provide fuel scooping for themselves for hydrogen. Isn't Crusader the only gas giant in Stanton? It is, yes, but there's each system has their own gas giant odd now. Correct. But every ship cannot fuel scoop hydrogen, especially mainly your fighter ships cannot. So you'll be providing hydrogen fuel for your fighter ships, but Quantanium for all ships. So I would say it would be efficient to just have 1 fuel tank for Quantanium and all the rest would, 1 fuel ship for hydrogen, all the rest will be for Quantanium. that would be my strategy going into it. I haven't tried opening a tank and seeing if the scoops work yet. They probably don't, but I don't know that yet. But if they don't, architect ad coming up, but they will in the future for sure. Oh 07. Let me know when we're back. All right, we're back. Oh 07. Okay, so the next ship we're looking at, okay, the we talked about um, Chimpasta made a good point about the Vulcan versus the Crucible, the Anvil Crucible, and Aegis Vulcan. Um, the Vulcan does some level of repair. The Crucible is a full-on repair shop in itself. But knowing that we're getting closer and closer to, things persisting. The replication layer is a go. The server meshing tech is a go. We could possibly very well see it in a 3.23 patch. I'll bet on the tech preview channel. And what it all means is we're getting closer to the days that things in the game will persist. We will not be overwriting the game or doing a restart in the servers and server resets. Now granted, it may happen. If there's something detrimental, it'll happen in order to preserve things. But we all know that at some point it's gonna be a time where we're playing the game and then there's no resets anymore, and it's it's gonna be a great day and it's gonna be a sad day too. Meaning, if you end up being in a state of disarray, you leave the game, you come back to the game. It's like it's almost like the opposite. It's almost like in life you might have a bad day. You say, okay, I had a day today, so tomorrow I'm gonna give it a go. May not be as bad. You might be all right. Yeah, I'm gonna get to it, Twix. Um, but you know, it's like, and with true persistence, if you're having a crappy day, your crappy day could be predicated on, hey, my ship is messed up, it's screwed up, it's in a bad state. I was pirated. She's not looking good. And you go back into the game. You go back into the game, and it's like, wow, I'm not having a my bad day continue the next day. My ship is still in a bad state. Thank you, persistent layer, persistence, replication layer, persistent entity streaming. Thank you, server meshing. My ship is crap, and you can't go to CIG and say, "Hey, my ship is crap," and they say, "What happened?" Yeah, pirates. I got pirated, and they're like, "Yeah, that's how the game is supposed to play. What do you expect?" And you're like, "This is crap. I'm having a crappy day." in comes in comes the ship that I think is another one that should be a priority for 2024, because once they're talking about true persistence and being staying in a state of how you left them due to um, your interactions or your fault or someone else interacting with or causing that to your ship, you're stuck with it. So in comes the Anvil Crucible. Have a cruise. Have a great day. And get some UEC because you need to get repaired. But yes, comes in steps the Anvil Crucible. Yeah, we already have the Vulcan, but to say we need a full, repair type ship, a ship that can like basically get it done overall, we need that ship. We need the Crucible. Single seated ships, it's going to do the job. As the early concept has stated before, it may take 2 or 3. We don't know, but this is the largest scale repair ship that we have right now, the largest. Due to what's coming with true persistence, that means if something's damaged when you left, you come back, meaning your ship, you come back to that ship, it's not going to fix itself. You're not going to get a fresh ship by logging out, logging back in, asking for a character reset. It's not going to happen. You're going to have to pony up the United Earth credits, or call a good friend, call an org member, call a guild member, and say, help me. Do you have a Anvil Crucible? And your friend says, yeah, what's up? Dude, I need my ship repaired. And then your friend says, okay, I need this material, I need that material, I need those materials ASAP. The Crucible will fit the bill. When you talk about, I need a full on rebuild, like factory, from the factory itself, right? Anvil will supply that. Architect TV says, I have a feeling space stations built by players will eventually be a thing. I've been playing for years. Some people pointed out the controlled stations, but I think it's going to go further than that. They did mention that some stations you can actually take over Architect. There was a certain number. I want to say 10 to 15, but don't hold me to that. But yeah, it was in double digits that they mentioned that there will be some that you will, as an org or large number of players working together, can actually call that your home. But it doesn't mean other factions will come in and try to take over. You will have to hold it down, literally. Odd Now says, I think we could see some more use of the Starfare on larger mining operations where you have multiple prospectors finding rocks and they need more hydrogen. That is so true. Yeah, they're burning a lot. They can provide, it's a two-prong approach, providing a refining of Quantanium or volatile rocks, because we know we're expanding now. It may not just be Quantanium, but also, providing services to refine their ore, as well as providing fuel, whether it's hydrogen or Quantanium fuel for those prospectors to get around, as well as all these other larger ships too are now. Don't forget, eventually you'll see the Orion. The Starfarer will have a lot of value. So again, it goes to the point of we do need the Vulcan, in that sense that the Starfarer is going to be sorely needed on these larger scales of either its operations or these larger scales of ships that will need the fuel, that need the fuel provision. I see people being able to build them. That's down the line, architect. I cannot say no to that. I'd say it's further down the line because Todd Pappy did allude to the Pioneer being able to build out in space. So there you have it. Admiral's like, Kemi, I got a feeling that tonight is going to be a good night. Tonight's going to be a good night. I got my ships. I got the anvil. I got the Pez. How do you feel? It's true persistence, and that is real. Tonight's gonna be a good night. I do. Yeah. So yeah, we need the anvil. We really need the anvil sooner than later, because true persistence will mean that whatever wreck you leave for the day, it'll be there waiting for you in the morning, or whatever night you decide to get back into the game. It's not going anywhere. Another reason we need true repair ships is that things are scaling up. And when I say scaling up, we're talking about the number of people. The number of people will eventually scale up to a point where you look around and you have a number of people around you. And I think it will remain that way and actually exponentially expand as they see Star Citizens is adding more things to the game, more new game loops, more systems, and people are gonna, people who've been sitting on the fence or people who are wanting to get into the game, this is gonna hasten their decision on that. They're going to be like, wow, look, they have 5 systems now. Oh, wow, they have these game loops now. I'm hearing it from my friends. I'm seeing it. I already have my package. I want to play now. Now you have this influx of people just getting into the game, and then all of a sudden you have these dynamic interactions. And what happens from that? A lot of things, and one of the things they have to be taken into account is that there will be battles. There will be ship battles, as we talk about multi-crew ramping up to the capital ship capabilities. You're going to have battles upon battles. People are not going to take it or keep it over into Arena Commander. They're going to try it in the persistent universe, and you're left with broken and busted ships that will persist. We need people, not ships. It makes me smile when people get my jokes. I thought you were dead serious. I would totally want a no ship package. Interesting. Oh, so what you're saying, architect, is you have basic provision, or let's say it's a different price point, right, architect? On a marketing sense, on a business sense, let's say $20, $25 just to get into the game. You spawn into stations. You all of a sudden your mission givers are provide these services or crew up with said people. Then you earn your UEC. So you're basically saying from -1 to 0. You're going from -1 to 0 to hero. That would be interesting. That's an interesting prospect. That's something I think CIG could consider, because once we have true persistence, it feeds into your narrative of why that makes sense. Is that you have to live, you have to get about. You might have to use the Starliner to get into a ship, travel here until you actually earn enough money to get your starter ship in game. I love that idea. Build or buy a ship would be your first priority if you choose. Yes. Yes. They did talk about that crafting on that sense where you start from minus zero. Yep. From minus zero to hero. And that chip, that game package they would make a, they would, you have to consider, and looking at the financials, they have to state their financials annually. If they don't, they got to burn the money. They got to spend it all. If they don't spend it all, they're going to be taxed. So they can find means and find ways to make money. And as they do, they'll put it towards the game, right? Or increasing salaries, right? Where it makes sense. But at the end of the year, even if you have if you have $1 million left, you better get some high-end equipment. You better put it into the facilities, or you better hire some more people if you got $1 million left over, because that's going to be taxed. So the game is find ways to make money towards the end of the year. At the end of the year, get the lawyers to make sure you spend it all so that you won't be taxed. That's the narrative that I've learned now from the CIG Financial. So it's not so much of a thing of it's a scam. It's more of a thing of you make and provide the game game mechanics and game loops so that people can buy into it, so that you keep the doors open, keep everything operating as a business, and make sure that there's nothing left over at the end. So it's an interesting prospect. I think it makes sure it's to ensure that everything is going back into the development of the game. Money well spent. But I do like that idea of zero to hero in the true sense of the word, and it also opens up the option to start without a ship. It's stay in a land-based area, a spawn area. You're not in the outskirts, but like a city. You're only restricted to a city, because that's the only way that you can be provided a living, and you do your missions, and you go through rented ships or ships from the mission givers, and you just make accrue enough UEC until you can buy your own ship. Yeah, be your own freelancer. Very nice. But yeah, we need the Crucible. One is, I think it's to set it up. The Crucible sets it up so that we have full service repair. It also feeds into the economy system, so that materials can be brought over to the Anvil Crucible, so that we can see the quantum system working for the materials and the commodities for supply and demand. The commodities fluctuating for prices, and then you want players to kind of avoid making claims, insurance claims, because then those rates will probably escalate and become problematic. Because you might want to circumvent having the wait time. So a Crucible is there, so you can get those repairs done immediately to get you up and running right away, so that your operating costs and your profit margins are not hit, because you're not in the game, you're not making money, as opposed to your rivals making money, and you're out of business due to not having those ships. So you need both. You need the Anvil Crucible, but you need the Aegis Vulcan as well, to be there to provide repair services as well on a smaller scale, where it's more than just a patchwork. Maybe it's a 50% of the ship, or 50% to 75% of a small to medium sized ship. The Vulcan would provide that service as well, and it would help to alleviate the high demand on the Crucible and then also will help until we have NPCs ready to be a part of that narrative as well, because they'll be a part of coming out and providing a service to someone who has experienced maybe a soft death with their ship, or or a state where it's repairable, but it can't fly off by itself. Um, Another thing I think in theory crafting is, what about a ship that provides components, ship components, things, internal ship components? Well, that would be probably any trading type ship like a Banu Merchantman or the Kraken or the Privateer out there. But it would be interesting that you have a ship that can provide that and come along and help with the internals. But then again, the Crucible may be able to fulfill all those needs because it is a full repair shop. But yeah, we need to see that. We need that at least in development on 2024, because with true persistence, you're gonna CIG will be possibly in a bottleneck if they do not have true repair provisions provided once we get into full persistence and more people in the game and those interactions of, fighting, you know. We definitely need this ship. But I don't know what's holding it back. I do not know. I do not know. But the sooner the better. The sooner the better. So yeah, that would be interesting. Repair in the general. Another aspect, like I said, because we're expanding out, logistics are expanding, points of interest. We're gonna have an improved star map soon. Presumably, they're targeting March. Another aspect of logistics and locations, being able to go places, and you happen to go to one area and you say to yourself, man, this would be nice. This would be really, really cool to make it home. Or I want to be here now. And knowing that we're post server meshing, persistence, and pairs, replication layer, everything is, they're turned off the server wipes. And now you're looking at the prospect of, wow, I want to live here. I don't want to spawn in Area 18 or Orison or Microtech or Pyro and then have to fly out here each and every time. I want to lay my head here. I want to be able to wake up in front of this nice lake and these trees and catch the sunrise and sunset each and every time in my gaming experience. Or be able to look out the window. So for 2024, which I think it aligns with all of us in CIG, meaning all of us in CIG, I think we are getting this shit. We're getting the Galaxy. They did say that the Polaris is first, and then there's the Galaxy for 2024. Can't wait. This aligns with my theory crafting of a ship we should see in 2024. We should, but no, this is all about what's the priorities for Chris and CIG. So, but I think due to the fact that they've already started on base building Q1 this year. In thought, they started on it in thought at least. You want this ship to be aligned and be ready for when they're ready to do base building. And this ship will actually allow you to build from small to large bases, right? It fits the narrative of, I want to be out. I found this location and I want to stay here. I'm tired of spawning in ArcCorp. I'm tired of spawning and running through the elevators and seeing all these people running around. I want to be able to wake up in one place and say, wow, I'm spawning in the game and I'm back at home. I'm really at home. The Galaxy fits that bill. The Galaxy will allow us to say, I have a homestead. Also, why this is so important that we can get, they should start this for this year, making it a priority. I think it will definitely hold the line, no pun intended. It will definitely hold the line for ships like a ship like the Pioneer and the smaller base building ship like the Surveyor for the Atlas platform series. We definitely need the Galaxy because it will serve up all the scales we need until we hit the ceiling. The ceiling would be the extra large hab. That will be provisioned or provided by the Pioneer. It gives them time. This by making this a priority, it gives them time for working on the Pioneer and making sure that the Pioneer will not disappoint. It's giving leeway to them making sure that the concept and also some of the earlier, more recent things they talked about, that now the Pioneer is a mobile base. I said, holy crap, man, what? It's a mobile base. You live on that ship, but you provide the extra large bases now, the habs. And by giving it a little more time, and then you have IAE, you better believe it better have a hot tub. I'm talking about living. You're not living there until you have a hot tub, Shimpasta. Oh my gosh, man. Don't give me a... Oh gosh. But yeah, it will hold the line. The Galaxy will kind of whet that appetite to see what base building is. And I think it's also a tease for the Pioneer because now they have a prototype, they have a design narrative, an approach to exactly work hard and play hard. Yes, sir. 07 to that. But it whets the appetite for the Pioneer. It makes the Pioneer that more desirable. And it gives them time to say, you can hold that thing until, you can improve upon the concept. And then come around IAE, you can make another sale pitch for the Pioneer because now people are seeing, okay, if this is the Galaxy and this is this good, I can only imagine what the Pioneer will be like. Business sense is perfect for CIG. It makes a lot of sense on the business side of things. But for gameplay aspects, the Galaxy is perfect for what is coming and how the narrative will change for Star Citizen going into the future with persistent hangars and habs. And the fact that it's RSI, it's the forefather of all ships. It's the big daddy of all ships. Yeah, it'll sell out in 3.5 seconds. F5 is going to be your best friend, Shimpasta. It's going to be your best friend. Index finger. Get some index finger exercises for sure. I'm telling you, man. That's the craziest thing I've ever saw with the Pioneer. I was always kind of thinking that the Pioneer was kind of like that sort of niche type ship before all the talk came about CitizenCon. And then when I think the realization of its value hit me fully in the face. I mean, sucker punched me. I didn't see it. It came right out of left field and knocked me down on my behind. And it was like, base building. Oh yeah, it's a mobile base. You live on it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So whoever actually pledged for that ship way back in the day, because it was like a niche ship. It was kind of like, okay, that's all right. I get it. All right, it's all right, But now it's like, holy smokes, they hit the lotto. It's the freaking lotto. But then I think what was clever, what made sense, they had to think that CIG was like, wait a minute, the demand for the Pioneer will be so burdensome. And the fact that we're not ready right now with NPCs to actually traverse with that ship, um, it was so perfect for them to drop in the Galaxy. And then, they had, oh, this is going to be a modular ship. And it was like, cool. So um, they had me at Refinery, right? I said, that is cool. The capacity, everything was larger than the Expanse, even though the Expanse was great. But I was like, wow, this is outfitted to protect itself. So I said, okay, done deal. I'm in. But then it had the modularity system that it kind of, had the Caterpillar owners rolling their eyes in the back of their head. I don't believe you, John Crew. But still, it was a necessary ship. And then lo and behold, freaking CitizenCon comes and base building video comes up, and boom, base building. Wow, that is cool. Okay, wow, the Pioneer, that is awesome. That is going to do that. And then boom, drop the mic. Yeah, the Galaxy will build bases. And I said, oh my God, I just hit lotto. I just bought that shit. I hit lotto. And I said, holy smokes, man. That is recent, Shimpasta. That was the recent news that Todd Pappy said about the Pioneer. They never called that thing a base, a mobile base. Or I had wax in my ears. I didn't hear it, but when I was there, I was there. I was watching it live, and Todd Pappy says, "Oh yeah, and it's a mobile base." And I said, "What?" I said, "Now you tell me." But I'd said at that moment, I realized that the people who pledged from the beginning all the way up to the F5ers who could get one, even if it was like a few months of insurance, it got that bad, to the point where it was just they didn't give a damn about LTI. And people were like, oh, LTI doesn't matter. And then other people was like, says you, all my ships are LTI. But when that Pioneer came out on sale, all those rules were broken about the person saying all of my ships are LTI. That's my bragging point. That's how I roll. They were like, I got to have it in my life. I don't care if it's 1 month insurance. I got to have that Pioneer. And it was like, no, you can't have a Pioneer because your F5 is slower than my F5. So it was like that. It was somewhere not LTI Shimpasta for the Pioneer. That was the crazy thing. And people still cannot get it. And it's like, okay, you got to wait till next IAE, and it'll always, that shit will always be in demand. You will never have, I put it like this. If you have a Pioneer, you don't need any other ship, because the fact of the matter is you'll be so busy building bases for people in all aspects that it's just like, man, look, 5, 10, 15, 20, 50 systems in, the demand is going to be astronomical. They'll always have that thing on sale. And I tell people, I said, don't get discouraged. It's always going to be on sale at IAE. But the illusion is you cannot get one no matter how hard you try. That's the narrative. That's the illusion. And yeah, that's another thing, that gray market. I would say do not I said, do not throw caution to the wind, people. When you think, don't ever get desperate where you have to go gray market with that. You're playing games. Don't play games like that. Go through RSI website. I'm not hating on anyone, but there's the potential. You know what I'm saying? There is a potential. Protect yourself. Protect yourself. Be careful with that. But yeah, the Galaxy will fulfill the immediate needs, and also it provides itself as the prototype of base building for RSI. I mean, not just for RSI, but for CIG, so that they will understand how the materials are to be placed, how they're being built out, how that will all lay out. And then I think you scale it up accordingly to the Pioneer, and it plays out accordingly that way. So that would be very, very cool. So can't wait for the Galaxy. But with that said, everyone, uh, episode 1 is a wrap. Kemi Crafting Game Theory episode 1, and then the next phase to this, I will do Kemi Crafting Game Theory episode 1.0 feedback debate, and I'll have some people come in on chat. I'll roll the video and we can respond, and maybe there's a rebuttal to say, I think this is the ship that needs to come in, or that ship does not need to come in, and here's why. And then we'll go on to episode 2. But I think it was good. It was a good conversation. I'm gonna keep them to a 2-hour window and do it that way. But 1.0 is in the bucket. So with that said, I'm gonna wrap this one up. Hope you liked it. I hope it was good conversation, good topic. Let's see out here. I'm gonna look out here in the black. I know someone I have not rated, and they play Star Citizen.
When Doug and Andre came to TurboTax, we navigated a turbulent.
GG's, yes sir, 07. I'm gonna read Mr. Avenger 1. The PvP himself. Get the raid started. Let me see. Did it work? Yep, we're gonna read Mr. Avenger 1. Everyone, thanks. I'll queue up what the next episode will be. This is episode 1 of Kemi Crafting, but in between that time, I'll give myself time where I can come up with a good topic to talk about. But we're gonna definitely do a follow-up to episode 1, do a live chat for rebuttal, debate, and then we'll be on to the next episode. But in between that, I'm gonna do some Star Citizens gameplay and things of that nature. But we'll go ahead and raid Avenger 1. Everyone, 07, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sharing the time. As always a pleasure. A Star Citizen community, best community. 07. Here we go. We're rating Avenger 1. Here we go. Did it work? Did the raid work? Oh, did it work?